crashing. Alright guys, it is 7:30 and welcome to Thursday evening, 7:30. It's a live cooking demo with Chef Jocelyn, so we're going to take a minute or so to allow people to log in, and then we're going to jump right on in because the live video can always be replayed at a later time, and then we can jump right on in. So make sure we have everything going. Awesome. All right. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and jump in and get started. For all you guys that are going to be joining in later, this video will replay. If once we get done, you can go back and hit the replay button, but welcome you guys to Chef Jocelyn's live cooking demo. This is the second installment of my series, 30 minutes or less until soups, chilies, and stews. Today we're going to do another soup, and then next week we will have either a chili or a stew within 30 minutes or less. So tonight we're going to do a take on Mongolian beef. I just turned it into a soup, and then I also added a twist of adding ramen noodles. As you can see, my Dutch oven is ready to go, so we can get it going. But for tonight's recipe, you'll need the following ingredients. I have flank steak, which is a steak that's really used for stir fry, and you can just buy this already cut up, which I did. You'll need grated ginger. I roasted some garlic earlier. We'll talk a little bit about that. Dark brown sugar, soy sauce, beef broth or beef stock. I have the ever famous ramen noodles. I have cornstarch, and I'll get some water later. I have green onions. We'll talk about that. And then we'll go ahead and get in. So the first thing I'm going to do is what I have in here already. My pan is already heated up. I have olive oil in, and I'm going to go ahead and drop the flank steak in, guys. So what you want to do is just drop it in. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get it right on in. So what I love so much about this stew, hi Brittany, ramen, yes. What I love so much about this, and you're going to hear, and let the sizzle die down a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about the meat. So the meat that I purchased is a flank steak. You guys can buy any type of meat, but I find that it is the kind of the cheapest meat that you can buy. It's already ready for stir fry, and that's the meat that I can just go and buy directly out from my meat market. Or you can buy the whole flank steak, and then you can cut it up yourself as well. My whole goal in this particular type of recipe or soup is to get it to the table in 30 minutes or less. So anything that I can purchase that's already done for me, I'm going to do it. But this meat was already done. It was already cut up for a stir fry, and it's already thin enough. So however you want to do this, guys, it was just easier for me. It cost me the same thing per pound, no matter if I bought it whole or if I bought it already chopped up. If you're kind of fanatical like that, you can do that as well or not. So what I'm doing right now is just browning my beef. It doesn't take long to brown. Okay, So we're going to go ahead and brown it. And it's going to take approximately, if you have it on medium-high, it'll take anywhere between 3 to like 5 minutes, depending on what you guys are doing. Hold on just a second. I forgot to pull this out. So, what you're going to do once it's done is you're going to go ahead and remove it from the skillet. So we're going to go ahead and finish this. As I was saying again, you guys, we have the flank steak. It's already been pre-cut. I did not cut up the meat. I was trying to get it to the table in a little bit more time than, normal if I had to sit here and cut it up. But always, preparation always saves you some time as well too. What you want to do is constantly stir. You don't want your meat to stick, and I have a little visitor down here that'll come join us every now and then. But what you want to do is right before this is completely done, you'll go ahead and take your meat out of your Dutch oven. So again, tonight, like I used last night, or the last week, I used my Dutch oven that I got for Christmas. This is my smaller one. It's a 4-quart. That's all you'll need. So the Mongolian is just a take on an Asian dish, Mongolian beef. I have all the flavors here that you would typically see in Mongolian beef. The only difference with this is it's a soup, and we're not putting it over rice. We're adding noodles and adding more liquid to the actual soup. So guys, again, this is a personal preference. I don't cook my steak all the way through just because that's kind of what we like here. It's really up to you. You can go ahead and cook it until you don't see any more pink. My pink is about gone, so I'm going to go ahead and remove my steak. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the steak from the pot. You're going to see some juices that are still left in the pot. That is good. You want the juices to stay there, okay? So that's what my meat looks like as I'm removing it from the pot. Always preheat your pot, guys. It makes your cooking time go a lot faster. But the thing with preheating your pot, that means you have to stand here and watch it. You don't want to overdo it. All right, guys. So now that I have browned my meat, it's ready to go. Some of it is still a little pink, borderline, kind of medium well, almost done. I still have some juices in here from my steak, and so what I'm going to add now as I'm going to add my onions. So guys, the one thing that you'll see me do here is I separated my green onions. So I took my green part and I separated both of these. So you'll see in my recipe, it'll say separate, and that's basically what I did. So I chopped all the way down, and I just used some kitchen scissors, guys. You're gonna take the whites, you're just gonna dump those in, and you're just gonna take the whites. Next thing you're gonna take is I roasted some garlic and I minced it up. You're gonna take your roasted garlic, drop that in there, okay? And then you're gonna take your, sorry, it smells so good. This is your fresh grated ginger, and I'll go and talk about that here in a second, but I'm just gonna go ahead and dump all this in, okay? So you don't want to, and it does tend to stick, so I'm gonna use my spoon. So just get it out, or you can use your fingers, whichever one works for you, okay? Same thing with this. So what you want to do is stir it around. I wish you guys could kind of smell this. So you're just going to mix it around, and we're going to do this for another 2 to 3 minutes and let it just kind of cook on its own. So the one thing that I was talking about before we had to put that in is the green onion. This is fairly cheap. So the green onion is fairly cheap. I had to separate the greens from the whites, and basically what that means is all the way down to where it starts to get a little thicker, and then I just chopped it up and then chopped up with my kitchen scissors or shears, or if you have a knife, you can do that as well too, but you'll need 2 bunches of these, and at my local grocery they were 43 cents a piece. So fairly cheap. Onion, just make sure you're separating the greens and the whites, which the whites will have some type of green on. The next thing that I had in here was roasted garlic. You can purchase roasted garlic already minced, or you can roast your own garlic, and that's a whole nother session, which I am more than happy to talk about. But basically, it's just taking a whole garlic bulb, putting it in foil, dousing it with olive oil, putting it in the oven on, I think, 400, and then 15 to 30 minutes, and then you just let it sit, let it cool off, and then you're able to take it out of its bulb. So right now, as I'm talking to you guys about roasted garlic, everything is coming together in my pot. You just want to make sure that you're constantly moving around so the garlic does not burn, or your onions don't burn, or your ginger does not burn. But this smells amazing. It doesn't look truly amazing right now, but it smells absolutely amazing. So, all right, so what you're gonna do, you're just gonna continue to stir, because you don't want it to burn at the bottom of your pot. Once this has been in here for about 2 to 3 minutes, your next roll that you're going to do, or you're going to put in, is going to be your beef broth. So guys, when I was testing out this recipe, there's something that I noticed when I made this recipe first. When I think of a soup, I tend to think that I like the broth of the soup. I want to make sure that I'm getting enough of the soup. And that's something that kind of bothered me. So when I made this recipe, I made it just with 32 ounces. This is going to be a personal preference for you. 32 ounces is quite a bit of liquid for a soup. It's really up to you, but I will tend to add in more liquid than what's on the complete recipe. Send me a bowl, Chef. Hi, Nick. How are you? I can probably work it out. All right, so what I'm just going to do is dump the beef broth in here. As you can tell, the sizzling slowed down. You're just going to dump the whole container in. Don't leave any. If this will be the point that if you wanted to add more than 32 ounces of beef broth, that you can. Guys, you can use broth, you can use stock, you can use whatever you have. I'm just using beef broth, and then I'm going to add in a little bit more because I want a little bit more liquid in my soup. So,
Andrew says Grayson says it looks good.
Hi, Grayson. So I'm just going to add a little bit more liquid. I probably added another cup of liquid just because as a personal choice for soup, I want to be able to, use the broth and drink the broth once everything is done. Again, personal preference. This has been super good in my household because we haven't been feeling all that great. So any warm broth liquid tends to go down very well, especially with these flavors. So now that I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and add my soy sauce at this juncture. So we're going to dump the soy sauce in here. And then we're going to take our brown sugar and I'll kind of sweeten it up. Be careful when you guys are dumping that in there because what you don't want to do is plop it completely down. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give it a little stir. And what you want to do is bring this up to a boil. And then once you get it to a boil, we'll talk about that here too. But we're going to give it a few minutes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about why this gets to a boil. And what you want to do as well too is make sure the brown sugar is stirred in well. And if you have those little tidbits that you always see, like at the bottom of your skillet, or like the granules that you want to pull up, this will be a good time to take your spatula and kind of just scratch. I know this sounds awful. Scratch the bottom of your pan, your pot, your Dutch oven, and make sure that it's going completely around, and make sure that you're getting all those tidbits up. So that's what I just did now, just to run it across, just to make sure that everything is coming together. So we're gonna let this boil for a second. Hey, Portia, can you add chicken tortilla to Tijuana? I think I possibly can do that. All right, so we're gonna let this boil. I have this on medium high, and then I'm gonna talk to you guys about some other little tips while this is going on. So what I didn't talk about is the fresh ginger. And so the fresh ginger that I had here was from a piece of ginger that I had in my fridge, and I just grated it. I grated it with a microplane. If you guys don't have a microplane, don't go buy one. If you have just like a handy cheese grater with the small side, let me see. If you have a handy cheese grater with the small side, which I have that, then you can grate your fresh ginger this way too. Or you can also have, like I said, a microplane. These can get kind of pricey, so it's up to you. If you want to invest in it, then that's really, again, up to you and how you guys want to spend money on your kitchen gadgets. But I love kitchen gadgets, and this is kind of the one thing that I spent money on. These can start anywhere from $8, and they can go all the way up depending how fancy you want to be. So I grated my ginger on here. It comes with a little thing, and you just put it back together. So either way, you grate your ginger. But if you guys don't want to grate your ginger, a nice alternative. I'm all about alternatives in the kitchen. I think sometimes you can't get to where you can get to ginger in the fresh aisle, or you can get to, or you don't have time to grate ginger, or whatever it is. I have found this great alternative. It's called ginger stirring paste. And so I'm just gonna show it to you. It's been great if you guys don't have time. Basically, it's 1 tablespoon of fresh ginger is an equivalent to this. So if your recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of fresh grated ginger, you can use a tablespoon of paste, and it gives you this exact same thing. This is just fresh ginger paste. There's nothing new, nothing about it. They've just done all the work for you. You don't have to worry about doing it. You just have to squeeze it into a tablespoon or a teaspoon or whatever you have, and then put that always into your pot if that's what you decide to do. But this has been a lifesaver. They have ginger. I think they have cilantro. I'm gonna go out on the limb and say I saw lemongrass and parsley, and there are some other things that they have as well. But these, I know the first question is gonna be, can these get kind of pricey? Yes, they can. This little tube of ginger, I think, ran $3.50. You get 4 ounces in here. This is going in the trash because it's old. But this is always a nice alternative if you don't want to go purchase fresh ginger, peel it, and then grate it. It's always another option for you. Okay, so again, ginger paste is always good in substitution for fresh ginger. So as this is still coming to a boil, you guys, first thing you're going to do is open up your noodles. We're going to throw away the flavor packet because, why? Because we already have the flavor, so this is going right to the trash or my trash bowl. And then what you want to do while you're in the packet is just kind of break it up into pieces. Okay? You're just going to break it up, take your ramen noodles, and break it up into small little pieces. And then you're just going to lay it down because it's going to go in here in just a minute. And while you do that, you're going to take your cornstarch. I know you're trying to figure out, why do you need cornstarch? What's up with cornstarch? So cornstarch and water, which is what I'm getting ready to do now, will help thicken the soup. It doesn't like thicken it to where it's like a paste, but it'll thicken up the broth so you can actually have what I like to call some hardiness to it. So what I have here is a tablespoon of cornstarch to a tablespoon of water is going to be for my soup thickener. And I'm going to go ahead and put some water in here, and we are almost at a boil, so we're going to dump everything back in there. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is, now that I have this, I'm going to make a paste, kind of. You can kind of see what's going on in here, and it'll kind of dissolve. Okay, this is going to be what we call the soup thickener. Alright. Alright, so that's thickened, and then what we want to do now is, now this has come to a boil, we're going to give it one more stir. It's come to a boil. We're going to go ahead and dump the noodles in, guys, that we broke up into those large pieces. And then you're just going to, well, if I can get the package open, and you're just going to drop it in. Guys, also too, if it only requires 1 package, but if you are heavy on if you want more noodles in here than that, please feel free to add more noodles. Just be very cautious that these noodles tend to soak up your liquid. And that's always something that you want to compensate for, okay? So we're just gonna leave those in there, let those dissolve. This will take another 2-3 minutes to get it going. Okay. And then what you wanna do while this is going is that paste we made for the cornstarch, we wanna go ahead and add it into the soup. Okay. All right, and so we're gonna give this a good stir. All right, guys, and so we're giving this a good stir. We're gonna give it a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna dump our meat and our onions back in there, and then we'll be ready to go. So what you wanna do once you dump this in here, you're gonna bring it back to what we call like a small boil, and right now it's doing a small boil, so I'm gonna let you guys look here so you can kind of see what I'm talking to you about. Right now you can see it bubbling, and this is not at a complete boil, but it's like a small rolling bubble, and I'm just gonna knock the heat back down to medium, okay? And then you're gonna let your noodles kind of come. Some people like their noodles to be kind of on the thick side nature. Others like them to be kind of translucent. It's just really up to you on how you want your noodles. You want them a little harder? Do you want them a little softer? It's really up to you. Here we like our noodles to be a little harder so they can have a little bite. So I won't let these noodles cook all the way. But the key with this as well is, guys, even if you like your noodles a little harder, they're going to continue to cook even after you turn the heat off because the heat is still going into the pot. Okay, so we are about almost done. The noodles will start breaking up. I'm going to go ahead and add my beef that I cooked earlier. Go ahead and add it back. We're going to add it back to the soup. Okay. And so you guys, just so you are aware, I'm cooking this on a little bit of a faster pace. In my instructions, it kind of details you on when to lower the heat and when to up the heat. Just so we won't be doing this all night, I kind of sped it up. That way we can get it through. So I've added the meat back to my broth. My noodles have started to come a little bit apart, so that ends up making good. So right now, this is what my soup is looking like. And so the last thing for your soup, excuse me guys, I have hair in my eye. The last thing for the soup as it's still going is you're gonna add in your green part of the onion. So again, guys, like I was saying to you before, the green part is the part that is right before, kind of all the way here, the darker green is what I call it, and then the white part is actually the onion part. And again, you guys can find these at your local grocer, and they're fairly cheap. So everything that I have here, you can find at your local grocer. You can get it fairly cheap. It's not something that this is going to break the bank. Usually, I've learned that in majority households, there's some type of these things already in your pantry, so you might not have to run out. The one thing that I wanted to actually say with this is, if you guys are not steak or beef, or you don't do red meat, there is another option that I will tell you guys about. You can always do chicken in the place of beef. Instead of doing beef, you're going to do like chicken tenders and chop them up. You're going to swap out the beef broth with chicken broth. That's another option for you, and just keep the same flavors. I have learned that the ramen noodles, it doesn't matter since you're not using the flavor packet. If it makes you feel better, you can go buy the chicken type of ramen, if that's the type, if you think there's a flavor. But the flavor packet is what holds the beef flavoring, or the chicken flavoring, or the shrimp flavoring. So you can always substitute this out with chicken if you decide, I'm not a big red meat eater, and so I want to go ahead and swap it out for chicken. This is always the substitutes that you can use. The only thing that needs to be substituted out is the type of meat and the type of chicken or the type of broth that you use. Broth, stock, whichever one you want to do, swap it out for chicken, and you can do it that way. So we are at a complete boil. We are completely done. So once we get to this phase, we're going to add in our greens. And then we're just going to stir them in. And it's super quick, 30 minutes or less, guys. That is my motto. Nobody has time to be running around the kitchen all day, not unless you want to. I'm just not a fan of it, but I actually prefer to do these quicker meals. So if you guys, hey, Peanut, if you guys have questions for me with this soup, the soup is completely done. So if you guys want to grab a bowl, well, like I'm talking to you like you're here, you want to go in my cabinets and grab a bowl, come sit down at our kitchen table and have Mongolian beef ramen soup with us, you are more than welcome to come to Austin. Please come on down. Doors are pretty much always open to share a meal. So soup is done. We have everything in it, 30 minutes or less, with all the flavors, ginger, beef stock, brown sugar, soy sauce, all those feels of Asian food into one pot of soup. The recipe, oh, thanks. Thank you, Chandra. The recipe is going to be put into the comments. The one thing I do want to make a side note on, I just realized my boo-boo, and my boo-boo says I forgot to add the 1 tablespoon of water that you put in with the cornstarch. So please forgive me, I did not put the 1 teaspoon of water that belongs in here. Other than that, everything else is up into your comments. If you guys have questions while I'm live, please feel free to ask them now. But if you are not able to catch this while I am live, as always, leave questions and comments into the comment section, and then I can always circle back around to answer questions or get feedback on what you guys are thinking. So next week we won't be doing a soup. We'll either be doing a chili or a stew. So this will be something completely different type of flavor profile, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll have something a little bit different going on with our stew and our chili. So this is pretty much it, guys. You are completely done. This is what it looks like. It's ready to go. You know, all you need to do, if you're not ready to eat and you want it to cool off, just pop your lid back up on here. Somebody asked me where I got this. So I got it for Christmas, and it came in a set of 2. I was nosy, and I did pick out my actual kitchen things for Christmas, so I do know where I got this. It was at Sam's. It was on sale. It came in a 4-quart and a 7-quart, and I'm not sure if it's still there. But you guys should be able to get Dutch ovens at any, if you have a local Sam's or maybe a Costco or any type of local like Bed Bath & Beyond or home goods store that has a kitchen section. No beans in the chili, right? Oh, we're not having this debate about beans in the chili because everybody in my household is like, no beans in the chili. But we're going to talk about that later. The Dutch oven, you can find at any home goods store. You can find at any like Bed Bath & Beyond, Home Goods. I want to say if you want to like break the bank, they have more expensive ones, Macy's, Nordstrom's, if you want to go there. This one, I know it wasn't super expensive, and it came with 2, and it fits my style, and it works just for me because I absolutely love color in my kitchen utensils. So I got it at Sam's, 4-quart, 7-quart, and it is a Dutch oven. I got that question up quite a bit, and the hubby bought it for me for Christmas. So, any questions, guys, before I log off of here? I know everybody is 8 o'clock. I definitely am not taking away from family time. I know people want to eat. Anything like that. I'm checking you guys' comments as I'm talking. Hi, Dawn. And I'm so glad we're able to add this into your rotation. So again, guys, tonight we made the Mongolian beef ramen soup. I took all these flavor profiles directly from Asian food. The only difference is it's not over rice, which if you are just having a hankering for rice, you can just make the actual broth and put this over rice if that's something you want to do. So don't let me deter you from the recipes. But again, the recipe will be popping up into the comment section and pinned to the top of this. Or if you guys are not back on Facebook, then you can always head over to my blog. It's sugarplumpastries.com/blog, or is it /blog? And then you'll be able to see, it should be the first recipe that pops directly up onto the actual blog site. It has pictures and everything to kind of see what I just walked you through on the live. So again, guys, it has been a pleasure. I'm so grateful that you guys joined me for the last 30 minutes. As always, if you want to get notifications when I'm going live, please, at the end of this video, there should be a blue button that says subscribe or get notifications when Chef Jocelyn goes live. And the recipe is now live on the comments. So you're going to hit the notification button, and that will actually notify you when I'm live again. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to hop off of here, and we're going to enjoy our soup for the night. And I hope you guys have a good night. Good night.